Rip Van Winkle by Washington Irving. About the author, Washington Irving was a renowned American author, essayist, historian, and diplomat who left an indelible mark on the literary landscape of 19th century. Born in New York City in 1783, Irving's life was a tapestry of literary pursuits, diplomatic adventures, and historical explorations. Irving's literary journey began in his early years when he penned humorous essays in old style. His first major literary success came with the publication of the sketchbook of Geoffrey Crayon in 1819 and 1820. This collection of stories, including the iconic tales of Rip Van Winkle and the legend of Sleepy Hollow, established Irving as a master of American literature. Rip Van Winkle, a lazy man, lives in a small Dutch village along the Hudson River in the shadow of the Catskill Mountain. He is a good-natured man, though inclined to avoid work. His wife, Dame Van Winkle, considers him a terrible husband, yet he is beloved throughout the village. He does odd jobs for others and play games with the children. He is attentive to everyone else's business but his own, which frustrates his wife constantly. His farm is chaotic and poorly managed. His son looks to be inheriting his father's traits. One evening, Rip rests in the wilderness after squirrel hunting with his dog. He sees a stranger in old-fashioned Dutch cloth. He follows the stranger through the ravine into a hollow, where he sees more stranger-looking men dressed in similarly outdated clothing joyously playing a kind of bowling called ninepins. They reminded Rip of a painting of old Flemish men belonging to the village parson. The sound that Rip believed to be thunder turned out to be the sound of the balls being rolled toward the pins. The players stopped playing at his approach and filled their cups with the liquor from the keg. They drinks and returned to their game, even as Rip is awed and unnerved by their appearance. Eventually, Rip tries the liquid and finds to his licking. After more than a few drinks, he falls asleep.
Upon waking, Rip finds himself where he first saw the man with the cake. He worries that he was left there all night and anticipates a scolding from his wife. Unable to call his dog to him, he is determined to revisit the scene of the previous evening's encounter. Unhappy about losing his dog and the prospect of seeing his wife again, he heads home. Arriving back in his village, he notes that people are wearing a different style of clothing, stroking his own. Rip finds a foot-long grey beard. As he moves through the village, he finds it altered, bigger, more populated, full of children. He doesn't know the name and he doesn't recognize on the doors and on the businesses. He begins to fear that his drinks has confused him to the extent that he can't recognize his own village or is somehow in a different village. Making his way to his house, he finds it in a ruins with a strange dog sulking around that grows at him. The home is empty and it appears as though no has lived there for a quite some time. Hoping to find some remnant of familiarity, he goes to the inn, but even that is altered. The Union Hotel is now with a flagpole, replacing the large tree that stood outside the inn he frequented. Instead of the group of idle men longing outside the door, there is a bustling crowd, including one man talking loudly about political concerns, which Rip understands nothing. Rip asks if anyone know Rip Van Winkle. A few in the crowd point out a young man and Rip considers him. He realizes that his young man looks just like them. At the age he fell asleep, everyone begins to believe that his old man has lost his wills before a young woman is heard suckling her baby, whose name is apparently Rip. When asked her name and her father's name, it is revealed that she is Rip's daughter, and she explained that he disappeared 20 years ago and has not been seen ever. As Rip tells his story, he claims that Hendrik Hudson and his crew, legendary explorers of the area, come back every 20 years to visit and make sure the land is still in good order. In fact, he is also described the surrounding mountain as being inhabited by strange creatures. Vanderdunk's fathers had once seen them dressed in their old-fashioned clothing, playing ninepins. Vanderdunk himself says that he once heard the thundering of the bowling balls one summer afternoon. This wise testimony seems to validate Rip's story in the eyes of the townspeople. Rip moved in with his daughter and her husband, whom he recognized as one of the children he used to play within his youth. He resumes his idle ways. Now old enough to do so without criticism, he takes walks and sits outside the hotel, telling stories about the time before and learning more about how to world has changed in his absence. Soon everyone in town know the tale by heart.